Who am I? I'm a I'm a dreamer, not the kind who waits for sleep to carry him somewhere beautiful. I learned long ago that Jacob was not the only man who could find a ladder between earth and heaven. Sometimes the ladder is breath, sometimes it's silence, sometimes it's walking through a crowded room while the sanctuary remains open somewhere behind the ribs. So I learned to dream with my eyes open, to wash dishes while building kingdoms, to walk ordinary roads while wandering through inner temples, to hear the noise of the world without allowing it to become a voice within me. I taught myself to become still without becoming motionless. That may be the strangest prayer I've ever learned. My hands can be working while my spirit sits beside still waters. My feet can remain on pavement while something inside me is climbing a mountain. I can stand among 100 voices and quietly search for the one that carries truth. Because I love people. Perhaps that is part of my trouble. I want to know their stories. I want to understand what carved the lines around their eyes, what resurrects their laughter, what wilderness they crossed before arriving at the table. Every person carries a scripture that was never bound in leather. Some chapters are spoken, some are hidden, some are written so deeply between the lines that reading them almost feels like trespassing. And sometimes I read too well. I notice the pause before the answer, the smile that arrives too late, the name that changes the temperature of a room, the invisible third chair sitting between two people who swear there are only two. I've learned that serpents don't always crawl. Sometimes they are misunderstandings, old wounds, jealousy, sometimes loyalties that enter the room long before I did. And discernment has taught me that not every serpent is mine to wrestle. Not every storm requires my boat. Not every closed door is asking for my hand. There was a time I thought hesitation meant fear. Now I wonder if sometimes hesitation is the angel standing in the road that only the donkey can see. So when something inside me whispers, wait, I wait. Not forever, just long enough to ask whether the resistance before me is a wall or a warning. Because I absorb rooms. Stay among enough people for long enough, and I begin carrying echoes that didn't originate in my own chest. Joy, grief, desire, anger, longing, things people say, things people carefully do not say. A crowd can become an ocean, and I have learned that a man can drown in water that never touches his skin. So sometimes I leave, not because I hate the gathering, because even Christ withdrew from the multitude. There are lessons that can be learned among people, and lessons that can be only understood when people are gone. I need both marketplace and the mountain, conversation and wilderness, communion and solitude. I go among people because isolation cannot teach me everything. I return to myself because neither can the crowd. And somewhere between them, I keep dreaming, not fantasies, possibilities. I don't close my eyes. I don't leave the world. I simply look at what exists and allow myself to see what might exist beside it. A different life, a different creation, a different version of myself. Perhaps that is what faith has always secretly asked of us, to perceive a thing before it has taken form, to carry an ark beneath a cloudless sky, to plant seeds while winter still owns the field, to hear music inside an instrument before anyone touches the strings, to call something possible when the world calls it invisible. So, yeah, I'm a dreamer. But my dreams don't require sleep, they require presence. They require imagination disciplined by discernment. They require knowing when to enter, when to remain, when the still small voice inside you is saying, this road is not yours. I'm learning not to confuse every connection with covenant, every attraction with invitation, coincidence with command, feeling with prophecy. Even a man who reads deeply must sometimes close the book before he begins writing himself into someone else's chapter. That lesson has cost me something, but wisdom usually does. So I walk, I watch, I listen, I imagine. And when the world becomes too loud, I return to that hidden sanctuary I've learned to carry with me. the place where breath becomes prayer, thought becomes vision, silence becomes the teacher, and possibility waits over the face of the deep. Maybe that's what I mean when I call myself a dreamer. I'm a man trying to live with one foot in what is and one foot in what could be, with enough humility between them to know that I'm not the one who commands the light. I'm only learning how to recognize when they say, let there be.